NASCAR has made a lot of controversial changes over the years, but this new idea that's being floated around might be the most controversial one yet. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric and welcome to Out of the Groove. I have a couple things to talk about in this video, but specifically there's one big thing. You probably saw it in the title, wherever the title is on these things. It's on the bottom, right? If you're on desktop, it's on the bottom. If you're on mobile, I think it pops up on the top. I don't really know. Whatever the title is, we're going to talk about the recent reports that NASCAR has considered getting rid of live pit stops in both the Xfinity and Truck Series sometime very soon. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to something very important. Myself with my friends at NASCAR Pole Position are giving away 4 tickets to Talladega in just a couple weeks. The Talladega Cup race, the playoff race. And you all have a chance to enter and win this giveaway. I'll put a link to it down in the description for you to enter. All you need to do to enter is give them an email address, and then once you're in, there are other ways that you can increase your chances of winning. You can add points to your credit by subscribing to NASCAR Pole Position, or one very awesome one, you can win 3 points automatically by subscribing to my channel right here, the one you're watching right now. So share that with your friends, get them to come and subscribe, because the more points you have, the better chance you have of winning that giveaway. And there's 3 easy points you can get right there by subscribing right here to this channel, so I appreciate that. I want to send one of you guys and all your friends to Talladega, dang it, so let's share that thing around. And be quick though, because it closes on Monday, so you really just have through this weekend to get it done. So don't delay, go enter that contest, share it with your friends, subscribe here to add 3 points to your credit, and give yourself a very good shot of possibly winning a Talladega tickets giveaway. So thank you, NASCAR Pole Position, for partnering with me to help set this giveaway up. And stay tuned to the end of this video, because I might have my own little bit of news regarding Talladega in a couple weeks, but for now, I want to talk about the news of this week. Alright, so this rumor of NASCAR considering getting rid of live pit stops in the Trucks and Xfinity series originated on Twitter earlier this week. At NASCAR_opinion first mentioned it, and when I first read this, I wasn't sure how to take it. I couldn't tell if it was necessarily true because I didn't see anyone else talking about it. I'm like, this could just be some Twitter stuff, I don't know. But then over the last couple days, a few other notable reporters have also talked about it, have also mentioned it. It's gotten interest from people inside the sport who have commented on it. So this rumor / report now, I think we can say it's almost a confirmed report at this point, has definitely taken off. So that's why I'm talking about it in this video. Yes, it appears that NASCAR has considered getting rid of live pit stops in 2 of their national series. Keyword is considered. They have not committed to it. They have not confirmed that they are doing this. They just considered it. Someone probably just slid a piece of paper across the desk. One guy read it and was like, not gonna do this year. Because no, they're not doing this in 2020, 2021, 2022, a little further down the line. I would say it's definitely possible, given that they're considering it now, but it's not happening next year. So chill out for a moment. And then also, before people start jumping on NASCAR, piling on them for having another terrible idea that's going to destroy the series and destroy the integrity of the sport, before people start jumping on NASCAR for considering this idea, keep in mind that a lot of these smaller race teams in the lower series have been asking for things like this. Teams, especially in the Xfinity and Truck Series, especially smaller teams in those series, have virtually been begging NASCAR to find ways to cut costs. And the way some of these reports reads, it almost sounds like they asked NASCAR to consider cutting pit stops because it would save them a lot of money. Here's a tweet from Adam Stern talking about NASCAR's reasoning behind not making this decision though next year. NASCAR recognizes that this could hurt its product so much that it wouldn't be worth the team cost savings, so it is hesitant to make such a switch. But teams have asked NASCAR to help them improve their business model, which is why the idea has been considered. That's what I'm saying. You guys might think it's crazy that NASCAR would have such an idea, but the teams are pressuring them to make major changes that would save them a lot of money, and cutting pit stops, therefore cutting several, paychecks of people that they have to pay to go over the wall each week, that would save a lot of money. That would also save money on resources, training. That would save a lot of money and a lot of time for some of these smaller teams. So before you jump on NASCAR for having this horrible idea, keep in mind that some of the race teams you guys root for every week are asking for this. Tommy Joe Martins actually responded to this report saying, "I like pit stops and fans do too. It's a tough decision for NASCAR. Theoretically, 200-mile race, 3 even-length stages, only allowed to take tires at breaks or for tire damage, retain positions, saves an Xfinity team $100,000 or more, and works as a major competition equalizer for small teams." The idea he's proposing there is basically what the K&N series does right now. It's more of a local, it's a short track series, K&N series is, but that's how they do it. They separate their race into a couple equal stages, and they're only allowed to pit for fuel and tires during those breaks. And it's not live, the people just are on a timer. There's not 15-second pit stops. They just take their time, and then they come back out and restart the race. It's basically just dividing the race actually into 2 separate stages. But here's a guy, Tommy Joe Martin, competitor in the Xfinity series. It sounds sort of like he is in support of getting rid of live pit stops. He's not like, he doesn't want to do it, but I think he understands that maybe it's necessary, or at least it might become necessary very soon down the line. So it's interesting though, there's an Xfinity competitor for one of those smaller teams who's pointing out the benefits of it. This just proves again that NASCAR race teams, specifically smaller teams, are asking NASCAR to help them save money, to help them cut costs. And NASCAR's been doing this largely. You know, in the last couple of years, they've gone to spec pit guns, which save teams a lot of money. They've gone with composite bodies in the Xfinity Series. Next year, they're going with a uniform chassis, it appears, for the Cup Series, which is going to save some money. NASCAR is trying to help the teams cut costs in ways that won't overly affect the actual on-track product for fans. Now that being said, getting rid of live pit stops would probably be one of the most noticeable changes they could make, which is why it seems like NASCAR is hesitant to make that decision. They know that if they get rid of live pit stops, everyone's going to notice. You know, there are probably some NASCAR Cup Series fans that don't even realize that this year's package is different from last year's. There's probably some just average fans out there that have no idea that it's any different this year. But if they get rid of live pit stops in the Trucks or Xfinity Series or both, people will notice that. Everyone will notice that there's no more pit stops, and clearly NASCAR believes it will hurt the product too much to take that risk. But it's important to remember, everywhere around NASCAR in the last couple of years has experienced downsizing. Everywhere. Remember, at the beginning of this year, corporate NASCAR laid off about 10% of its workforce, and a lot of the long-time veteran employees that have worked for NASCAR have recently been replaced by younger, cheaper, less experienced options. So NASCAR, the company, is downsized. Drivers have even taken a hit. Drivers' salaries, and I did a video about this like a month ago, driver salaries, for the most part, have slightly dipped compared to what they were 10 years ago. A lot of race teams are smaller. I mean, Chip Ganassi, Jack Roush have gotten rid of their Xfinity teams in recent years. Brad Keselowski, remember, got rid of his Truck Series team a few years back. When NASCAR was enormous, 10, 12 years ago, all these jobs were popping up left and right because there was just so much room for the sport to grow, and it was growing so fast. You could say unsustainably fast, as we've kind of found out. There's so many jobs, so many opportunities across every imaginable layer of the sport. Now, everything has just come down. Everything's condensed. Everything's smaller now, and a lot of those jobs just aren't affordable anymore. People can't afford to keep paying people for those jobs. You hate to see it. You don't want to see it. You don't want to see NASCAR get rid of live pit stops and force pit crew guys to lose their jobs and have to go find something else. You don't want to see that happen, but it's also just the nature of a business. NASCAR is not a booming industry, not a booming company right now. It's a company that's trying to restructure itself. It's a company that's trying to figure out what's next. It's a company in limbo right now, and when you're in limbo like this, there are going to be changes. If NASCAR does ultimately opt to eliminate live pit stops from some of their national series here in the next couple of years, I hope that they don't treat it as a 100% permanent decision. I hope that if things start to kind of get better in the next few years, if NASCAR, the series, starts to pick back up, revenue picks up, if things start to get better, I'd hope that they'd at least consider bringing live pit stops back to the Trucks or Xfinity Series. I don't want them to treat this like a permanent elimination, like we're never going to see pit stops come back. I don't want that to happen. I want NASCAR to keep trying to bring them back if they ever get rid of them. But I don't know. It remains to be seen. Anyway, this is a pretty wild report. Definitely not one I think a lot of fans would be expecting to hear at this point, but I'll be honest, if NASCAR does get rid of live pit stops from the Trucks or Xfinity Series, you guys know me, I'm not going to be the type of fan who just leans back in his chair, shouts to the heavens how the sport is dying, how I'm never going to watch again, how I'm completely fed up, because everything's a lot deeper than that. You always have to look past what it seems on the surface to see what the reasons behind a lot of these decisions are, and in this case, a lot of the race teams just can't afford to pay these pit crew guys anymore. That's just the truth of it. You can't pull money out of nowhere. That's basically all I had to say about that topic. Really surprising story to hear, but I want to know you guys' opinion. What would your reaction be if NASCAR chose to get rid of live pit stops in the Trucks or Xfinity Series? I'm curious to know. Let's move on. We've got some other news to talk about. So the Truck Series wrapped up their first round at Las Vegas last week or 2 weeks ago, and it was kind of a mess. 3 of the 4 ThorSport trucks actually blew engines or had engine issues at some point or another in that race, and it actually led to 2 of the ThorSport drivers, Johnny Sauter and Grant Enfinger, both being eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. Just a catastrophe. So now earlier this week, Ilmor Engines, the company that builds the engines, because the Truck Series runs a spec engine, every team runs the same engines, gets it from the same exact place, Ilmor Engines and NASCAR released statements regarding the issues they had at Las Vegas. And the company primarily blamed extreme heat and extreme conditions at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Remember, that race when it started was in the high 90s. The air temperature was like 97 when that race started, so definitely a very, very hot race. They cited those extreme conditions as being the main reason for the sudden failures. ThorSport wasn't the only teams to have trucks. Dipple had a failure. I know some other drivers, I think later on they found had some issues with their engines as well, but ThorSport was the most highest profile, and it was the one that seemed to be affected the most. So according to the report, they took all the engines from that Las Vegas race back, they stripped them down, they investigated them. And the controversy in all this is that ThorSport now has 2 of their drivers eliminated from the playoffs because of something that wasn't their fault, because ThorSport does not get to build their own engines. They don't really get to touch these engines much at all, and engines are the exact reason why they are now eliminated from the playoffs, or 2 of their drivers are. So ThorSport is understandably very frustrated, and I do not blame them, but it was interesting to hear NASCAR and Ilmor, taking the blame, taking credit, taking all the heat for this issue. But it is interesting. I saw in the report, they said that ThorSport deserves none of the blame. It wasn't something they did with tuning or anything that resulted in all these failures, which, I mean, I know they can't do much to the engines because it's a spec engine that they're getting from someone else. I know they can't do much to the engines, but I don't know. The fact that 3 of the 4 ThorSport trucks blew up and, only a couple others in the whole field blew up, I feel like ThorSport had to have done something, but maybe not. Maybe it was really just random and ThorSport was the one that got the short end of the stick in this case. But either way, catastrophic failure and not a good look for the spec engine group over there. Is what it is. NASCAR did say they're not going to redo Las Vegas. That's not possible. So end finger, solder, kind of out of luck, unfortunately. It really is a crappy situation, honestly. Yeah, at the end of the day, I feel like you just can chalk it up to just a bad missed call. Like, the Saints game, playoffs last year, something like that. Maybe not quite on that level, but close to that, that cost you a chance of advancing in the playoffs. I don't blame ThorSport for being frustrated. Don't blame anyone involved there for being frustrated, because that really sucks. I'd be really frustrated if I got eliminated from the playoffs for something I didn't do. Anyway, just wanted to mention that because NASCAR, they mentioned it. So that's all I really have as far as news goes for this episode. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to click that link down in the description to enter that contest to possibly win a 4-pack of Talladega tickets. And speaking of Talladega, I told you guys I had a little bit of an announcement myself. Your boy's planning on being there, actually, for that weekend, October 12th and 13th. I'm planning to be there. I've never been to Talladega before. I've been to Talladega. I've driven past the racetrack before when I was younger. I remember seeing like, whoa, that's big, just out in the distance. That's Talladega. But I've never been there for a race until this year. I will be there. I'll be filming. I don't have any set plans yet for a meetup or anything, but stay tuned. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. I'll keep you guys updated on there if I'm going to do a meetup the day of the race, because there's a very good chance I will. So I'm really excited. Never been to Talladega before. Give you guys in the comments, give me some tips. What's the best way to take advantage of my first ever experience at Talladega? I want to know all the things. I don't want to miss anything too big. So let me know in the comments. But that's my announcement. Click that link below to enter for a chance to win 4 tickets, and you might be able to meet me there. That would be pretty freaking awesome. Share this with your friends. Subscribe if you're new. Thank you all for watching. Big thank you also to my Patreon supporters. Michael Harrison at you is the stars, Cameron James, John Koblenz, Jason Arlong, Wesley Donaldson, Isaac Dennison, Mika Suzuki, iFantasyRace.com, RacingInsiders.com, Matthew Koulopoulos, Pepe Lucius, Jeremy Conklin, Emilio Garcia, Joey DiMacchino, Sky Racing Forums, Bryce Schumacher, Scott McNew, Colton Austin, Bradley Pelletier, and the rest of these incredible Patreon supporters. It's thanks to the support from people like you that allow me to go to these races like Talladega and document them for you guys, meet a bunch of fans, do videos, do all that great stuff. Thank you a ton for your support. I couldn't do this without you guys. I keep trying to take this channel to bigger and better places. We're almost to 100,000 subscribers, which is crazy. Hopefully we get there by the end of the year. That's all I want for Christmas is 100,000 subscribers. Just try to make that happen. So I appreciate the support, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll be back probably after the Roval this weekend. I didn't talk much about the Roval this week because I just got sidetracked with all these other big news stories. But the Roval is going to be crazy. End of round 1 of the Cup Series playoffs. I'll be watching both the Xfinity and the Cup race this weekend. So I don't know. Look forward to an episode after that. I'll see you then. Bye-bye, everyone.